Okay, have y'all seen these three terms before? Right, acute, and obtuse? Yeah. So here, look back here at me. Hold your left arm straight up and hold your right arm straight out to the side. Left arm straight up, right arm straight out to the side. Okay, so that is what angle is that? A right angle. Okay, the measure of that angle is what? 90 degrees. Okay, bring your left arm down like an alligator chomp, right? Close it. So anything less than 90 is acute. Now swing your left arm all the way out. Anything greater than 90 is obtuse, right? Now, last one, airplane, arms straight out both ways. If you get a flat line, anybody know the measure of that?
180.
Good. That's it. You can say the measure of that angle is 180 degrees. Okay, so that's what these are talking about down here. Okay, chapter 1 has been a big notation chapter. We've talked about lines, line segments. We're going to talk about rays today. So let's talk about notation of an angle. What is this lowercase m representing here on this right angle? It's saying m something capital A equals 90. What is that saying? Good, measure. So go ahead and label that, guys, just for the sake of your notes. That lowercase m is talking about the measure of an angle. And then obviously, y'all saw this when you were doing vocab. This little guy right here, that little symbol is the angle symbol. And then what was the vocab term that you just wrote down in your notes for the letter A? What part of the angle is the letter A? The term starts with the letter V and ends with the letter vertex. Good, vertex. Go ahead and say that out loud, vertex. It's the point of the angle. It's where the two rays meet. It's where the two rays meet. So that you'd read that out, the measure of angle A equals 90, and I'm going to call out the book here. What's the book missing on that 90? Degrees, yeah. You got to have that degrees symbol there. We measure angles in degrees. I'm going to call somebody out. Willow, go ahead and read this. How would we read that?
Measure angle B less than 90.
Good. The measure of angle B is less than 90 degrees because it's acute. And then the measure of angle C is between 90 and 180 degrees. Okay? Okay. We're going to jump into some practice problems here together. See if we can figure this stuff out. Look at this crazy drawing. Y'all want to draw that? Not right now. Well, let's do this together here. I'm not going to make y'all draw that whole thing. So this tells us in the first section to name the vertex. Name the vertex. So let's again pay attention to notation stuff. It's pretty detailed. It's minute things, but it is important. So number 1 is talking about what angle? Angle 5. So we can call an angle a few different ways. We can name an angle a few different ways. And we're going to go through this together. So I kind of take back my statement here. Go ahead and draw just this top portion right here. That triangle 5, 6, and 7, and label those points with those capital letters as well. Go ahead and take just a second to do that. Zoom in on this portion of the drawing here, okay? So we're looking at angle 5. So different ways to name an angle. We're going to go through this real quick. What part of this angle is that number 5 labeled in? That it was also a vocab term. The interior. Say that out loud, interior. Okay, it means inside the angle. So if I was to kind of highlight this angle here, it's like the open alligator's mouth. Maybe y'all's middle school math teachers for less than and greater than, those symbols, they kind of talked about the alligator mouth pointing towards one number or the other. Maybe not. The inside of the angle is inside the alligator mouth. Okay, that's a visual that I want you guys to think of. So when we label angles, the number to label this angle is going to be on the interior. Okay, what about point M? Where is that labeled? on the exterior of the angle. So it's outside of the angle. So if the 5 is on the inside of the angle, it's on the interior. This point M is on the exterior. So make sure you're drawing on your notes. Looks just like that. And again, when I say point M, what part of the angle is point M? The vertex. The vertex. So it's the point of the angle. It's where the two rays meet. It's where the two rays meet. Okay. Also, a vocab term you guys took down, a ray. Somebody tell me, just based on the definition you wrote down, what is a ray?
It's like a line with one endpoint.
A line with one endpoint, and what's on the other end? And a what? An arrow. Yeah, so one endpoint and one arrow. So it stops at the endpoint, but then it goes infinitely the other direction with the arrow. So I'm going to amend this drawing here just a little bit and go ahead and continue this with an arrow. Y'all can do that too. Just to show you guys here, this angle is made up of two rays. Okay, let's name these two rays. This red ray right here. Okay, and again, notation is really important when we're talking geometry figures. So this ray is in red is what? How do we name that ray? MN. MN. Now, order has not mattered when we're talking about lines and segments. Okay. I like to say that order matters when we're naming rays. Why is that?
It goes into one direction.
There's an endpoint in one on one end and infinitely in the other. Miles, what were you going to say?
It's not the same on both sides.
Yeah, it's got two. It's got an endpoint one on one side and an arrow on the other. The way I look at rays and the way I want you guys to look at rays is it's only going one direction. You know what I mean? Like just like how you would draw. If I were just to tell you draw an arrow, right? That's how you would draw an arrow. It's only pointing one direction. So let's go ahead and make that first letter the endpoint and the second letter the arrow. Okay, it's being specific about M is where the ray starts and N is where the ray is going. Okay, so given that, how would we name the blue ray? Y'all just go ahead and holler it out. MO. The end point is at M, and the direction it's going, the direction of the arrow is where point O is. Okay? And these two rays together make which angle? That's what I'm trying to get you guys, or that's where we're going here, naming this angle. Okay, good. So we've got a few options here. Okay, we're going to write them all out. I'll write them in the Galaxy pen. So these two rays together name angle 5. Y'all go ahead and write this down because this is important. Y'all are going to have to decipher these figures here on your homework today. Angle 5. Give me another name for this angle. Angle MON. So let's talk about this here. Very, very important as we get into angles. Okay. I'm going to erase this part. MON. Order matters when we're naming an angle. Order absolutely matters. So if I'm going to trace MON, I'm going to start at M and go to O and go to N. Is that the angle we're talking about here? You see that visually, right? How we name that? What angle is MON talking about? Angle 7. So we just want to name angle 5. So MON is not a name for angle 5. Give me another name for angle 5. NMO. Again, I like to do this on day 1 of angles. I trace it with a highlighter. Start at N, go to M, and go to O. Is that the correct angle? Absolutely. The alligator mouth is opening to the number 5. So let's go ahead and write that one down. NMO. Give me another name for this angle here. Okay, again, I love it. Start at O, go to M, and finish at N. That's the same angle, right? So we can name it O, M, N. We have any other options here? Nice. Last one. Angle M. Angle M. Okay. I'm going to underline something here. what do you guys see when we're using letters? What do you guys see in common with those three?
The point that's in the middle.
The vertex is in the middle. The vertex is in the middle. Write that down. When naming an angle, the vertex has to be in the middle. The vertex has to be in the middle. We're not always going to see numbers with our angle names. We'll actually get away from that pretty quickly. That's just at the beginning of the chapter to get you guys used to working with angles, but that'll disappear pretty quickly. Okay, most common way that we name an angle is just like this. 3 points, angle NMO or angle OMN. So we need to get used to that. Okay, really important that we know the vertex is in the middle of our angle name. All right, that's my long spiel on naming angles. Any questions on this figure before we actually dive into some of these problems here? How are we feeling? Okay? Yeah? All right. We'll jump into it. So back to our problem. It said name the vertex of each angle. So after that whole spiel, what's the vertex of angle 5? M. Good. Pretty simple, right? Go ahead and write that down. And you essentially already have it written down, but the vertex of angle 5 is M. Okay, next, the vertex of angle 3. Angle 3, and y'all didn't draw this part of the drawing, no worries. I'm just going to zoom in here for us. The vertex of angle 3. So I'm going to highlight angle 3, just like that. Where's the vertex of angle 3? P. Yeah, it's where the two rays connect. It's where the two rays connect, and I'm going to make y'all do some extra here. So this is P, right? And y'all just tell me, what are two other ways we could name this angle 3 here? RPQ or QPR. And what letter's in the middle? The vertex. The vertex. Okay, y'all getting where I'm coming from here? It's really important. Angle 8. Angle 8, what's the vertex of angle 8? Point O. So I'm going to highlight angle 8, just like that. Vertex is O. And what's our vertex for angle NMP? NMP. The vertex for angle NMP. Check this out. I don't even need the drawing for that. Why do I not need the drawing for that? Vertex is in the middle. Amen. Okay. Guys, I can't stress enough being able to see a figure like this and break it down into all the different angles and how you can label each one of them is, I'd say, more than half of the ball game with these problems. Because if I say, give me the vertex, or rather name angle 3, and you go into angle 3 and you call it QPO, and it's just a mental mistake, you're already just totally setting up the problem wrong. And if you're solving for X, or if it's asking you for the degrees to find the measure of the angle, like, you've already started the problem wrong. So the way that we name angles and the way that we visualize pictures just like this one is, I'd say, more than half of the battle in getting these right. Miles?
So angle 1 has a line segment and a ray. Is that like an angle?
Yeah, again, that's a great question. Angle 1 has a ray going this way, but then it's a segment and it kind of cuts off here. That is still an angle. Sometimes we'll get drawings like this. You know, if I'm being particular, I would love if the book would just continue this out here with a ray as well, like they did on some of these others. You know what I mean? They just didn't. But yes, good question. Angle 1 is still absolutely an angle, even though there is an endpoint over here. Okay. All right. Okay, let's jump over to some a little bit more advanced problems.